Hello, awesome patrons. First of all, I would like to apologize for being late in posting this video reward. If you haven't watched last week's YouTube video, I've been frustrated with my art lately. I've also been experiencing a lack of energy, which seems to come back around the same time every year now. So I will be mindful of that for next spring, but for now, I will focus my energy on pushing through because I know this situation is temporary. This month's quote for the Owl Book project was suggested by Sarah Scotcher. Thank you so much, Sarah. Flowers are my go-to when it comes to art, so it was easy to illustrate the quote. And here is the color palette that I will be playing with. I will also make sure to list all the supplies that I'm using in the post. Like previous months, I'm working across 2 pages in the accordion book. However, I'm painting on a separate piece of paper, which I will glue to the book pages after I'm done. The paper I'm using is from a batch of remnants I get from a local mill. There are slight imperfections, but I don't mind. I think it adds character. For a change this month, I decided to write the quote before painting. I've arranged the letters to fit in a block by varying the height and the style of font. It took me quite a while to figure out the placement and the choice of lettering. You will hear about this adventure in the upcoming segment. I'm so sad. I did this background. I absolutely love it. But I forgot to hit the record button. More precisely, I did what I usually do when I make such a mistake, which is I thought I had previously stopped a recording, which didn't happen. So then when I started to want to record, I pressed a button and that actually stopped the previous recording. And when I went to stop after I did all that, I noticed that the recording wasn't going on. So now I don't know what to do because it means I'm gonna have to redo the whole project because basically you've missed the whole thing. Gosh, I'm so upset at myself. And I also have to redo the text. Yeah, this is what I was talking about in my YouTube video of last Saturday. This is the place I'm in right now. It seems that everything I do is either not what I intended to do, or I'm going to use big words. Shit happens and I have to redo. Anyway, let's redo. Gosh. And we are starting over again. I rewrote the quote using my Lightbox. I will also do my best to do the background in the same manner. Of course, I cannot for the life of me copy my own work, so it will look different. I also moved my camera slightly higher to give you a better sense of how I grab my paints and rinse my brush. And I also have a piece of scrap paper to catch the excess paint so I don't waste any. I collect these scraps, and when I feel like it, I love to doodle on them. That way nothing goes to waste. I painted the background by using blue apatite first, then I added brown green and cascade green. I did add a touch of the violet, but very sparingly, as I plan to use that color for the flowers. I let the first layer dry overnight. When I came back to it, I noticed the colors were quite washed out, so I applied a second layer. This time I used less water and more pigment for a more vibrant look. How the colors dry not only depends on the quality of your paint, but also on the kind of paper you're using. This is not watercolor paper. It has very little sizing, so it absorbs a lot of the color when the paint dries. I don't mind that, as it lets me build the background gradually, and I find I have better control over the saturation. Once the second layer was painted, I let it dry completely once more. There is a common element that connects each double page spread in my little owl book, and that is a gold circle or a gold sphere. Since I considered the background to be a landscape, I traced a circle that I painted gold to represent the sun. I positioned the circle so that it would be nestled behind some clouds. When it was time to add the gold, I made sure to go around the shapes I had chosen to be the clouds. I wasn't brave enough to add the flowers with paint right away. I drew the stems first with a pencil so that I could correct anything I didn't like. Once I was happy with the placement of the stems, I painted them with a mix of violet and brown green. These subtle brushstrokes represent ghost flowers in the distance. I did that by diluting violet with a lot of water. When I look at the final painting, I can barely see them, but I think it still created some depth. The final step was to add the flowers. I painted the petals very loosely by varying the angle of my brush, and I love how they turned out. I even added a touch of brown green to some petals as I thought the violet wasn't vibrant enough against the green. I'm trying to use up all the paint I have in the different mixing palettes. So I use this whitewash to splash a few dots on the painting. I guess you could say this represents the spring pollen floating about. When the painting was all finished and dry, I glued it down in my book using a liquid glue. Dry adhesives don't work on this thin cotton paper. It's a bit tricky, but I managed. Of course, I had to cut the picture in half, and I made sure to avoid gluing over the accordion fold of the book. I enjoyed working on this illustration a lot. This style is my comfort zone and just what I needed to get things done. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below the post here on Patreon. As usual, I am so grateful for each and every one of you. Your support and encouragement are what keeps me going, especially during tougher times. Thank you from the bottom of my heart and heart. You're all awesome. Talk to you soon.